Alex Gibney, take one.
It's a murder mystery about a young Afghan taxicab driver who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was taken to Bagram Air Force Base by U.S. military, and 5 days later he was dead.
When reports emerged from Iraq and Afghanistan about the use of torture by the American military, the world stood by in shock. At number 36, Taxi to the Dark Side is a shocking expose, alleging just how extensive and systemic this structure of violence really was. Beginning with the murder of an Afghan taxi driver, it follows a trail that eventually leads to the very top.
The administration at the time was trying very hard to say that this was just a few bad apples. We heard that a lot after Abu Ghraib.
It was only the night shift. There's always a few bad apples.
It's been a body blow for all of us.
This is clearly an isolated incident.
Well, it wasn't a few bad apples. It was the barrel that was rotten, and this story helped to show that.
In a series of astonishing interviews, director Alex Gibney persuaded ex-soldiers to open up to him about their use of torture and their complicity in the death of the taxi driver, Dilawar.
Some would say, well, hey, you should have stopped this, you should have stopped that. When you were injured or saw he was being kicked on the issue, why didn't you do something? That'd be a good question. My answer would be, well, it was us against them. I was over there. I didn't want to appear to be going against my fellow soldiers. Which, is that wrong? You could sit here and say that was dead wrong. Go over there and say that.
You know, when we first started, nobody wanted to talk, and we had no materials to show. That put us in a real bind. But you dig, and you move forward, and you try to persuade. And what surprised me was that these kids, and I think you would only call them kids, you know, I liked them very much. Some of them were very soft-spoken. Some of them, I think, were haunted by what they had done, and were very confused. But they were very forthright and honest with me, and I appreciated that a lot.
Right after the release of the Abu Ghraib photos in mid-2004, 35% of Americans polled believed that torture was acceptable under some circumstances, even after the Abu Ghraib photos. And I think that shows the way that this kind of popular culture has built a constituency for torture, which allows the Bush White House to get away with the way it twists laws and treaties and doesn't spark popular outrage.
We do not condone torture.
We do not torture. Footnote, as we define torture, which means exactly what we wish it to mean and nothing else.
I made this film so that it would be a kind of sacred space that different kinds of people could inhabit. I wanted to make a film that soldiers could see, that civilians could see, that people on the left and the right and the middle could see. It's now required viewing at the Army JAG School. I remember a screening in Washington, D.C., where there were a number of young Marines came to me after the screening, and I wasn't sure how they were going to react, and they came up and they all thanked me because they said it reminded them of what they were fighting for, that they wanted to fight for certain principles. And if those principles were being undermined, it was hard to know why.
It damaged the reputation of my country. It dishonored the traditions that are at the core of what the United States is all about. It was a disgrace, and I'm glad it's been stopped.